Hello, I'm Dane, and this is Dan Explains. This is my 256th video. A round number, like I haven't seen since video 16. Why, you ask? Any person who's familiar with computer programming would be familiar with those two numbers. 256 is 100, or looks like it, in hexadecimal, and 16 looks like 10. Why do computers use hexadecimal instead of base 10? Let me explain mine. Today, increasingly, people have less and less of a reason to speak to computers in the computer's own language. It used to be that you couldn't even use a computer unless you knew at least some programming. The C64, which was the first computer I got familiar with as a kid, required you to have some skills in the basic programming language to load practically anything at all. Because when you booted the computer up, it brought you right to the basic programming terminal. It had no mouse and no mouse pointer. Just you, a keyboard, and a programming terminal. A rudimentary interface was eventually made for it called GEOS, but that's not the focus of this video. Nowadays, we have computers in our pockets that we barely have to swipe to use, and that's if we don't just talk to it. The thing modern computers and the C64 have in common is they both just work by shuffling numbers around. Modern computers just do it much faster than the C64 did. Digital computers have pretty much always consisted of electrical logic gates known as transistors, or, in the very early computers, vacuum tubes. Like a light switch, the gates can either be on or off, and in modern computers, they can have hundreds of billions of these gates. It's the on-off nature of the gates that give computers their base numbering system, which is binary. Binary, as it sounds, means two numbers, because the gates in a CPU can only have two states, off or on, corresponding to 0 or 1. I'm not going to go too much into the details of binary here, but here are some of the example numbers in their binary, decimal, and hexadecimal counterparts. You'll notice, because binary only consists of two numbers, the numbers get very long very quickly. When designing the CPU, the designers had to decide what were the largest numbers it could handle. It would be extremely difficult to work with a program for a CPU that could only handle one digit of binary, which is known as a bit. Then the largest number you could represent is just the number 1. So they made small memory banks in the CPU called registers to hold a string of binary bits. The number of bits would determine the largest number the CPU could easily work with. If the computer had registers 4 bits long, the biggest number the CPU could handle would be 16, because you can only have 16 different combinations of 1s and 0s, and a binary number 4 digits long. Every subsequent bit you add doubles the number that can be represented. So 5 bits would be 32, 6 would be 64, etc. So the CPU designers had to pick a registry size that was small enough to fit in the CPU, but still big enough to be able to represent large enough numbers to be useful. Because of this, most of them ended up going with 8-bit registers, which resulted in a maximum number size of 256. Although some did go with 4 bits, giving the maximum number of 16. But the 4-bit computers are largely gone now. I mean, so are the 8 bits, but you'd be surprised what you still find those things in. Conveniently, numbers that are 8 or 4 bits long can easily be represented if you use the number base known as hexadecimal, which is base 16. In base 16, the numbers above the 9 are replaced with the letters at the beginning of the alphabet. So, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are A, B, C, D, E, and F, respectively. This means you can represent a number in a 4-bit register with a single character on the screen, and an 8-bit number with 2 characters on the screen. The 8-bit number humorously started to get called a byte, which meant, of course, they had to call the 4-bit number a nibble. At this point, you might be able to see why they didn't go with base 10, because there was no way to chop up the register into decimal-sized pieces. If you do the math, you'll find that to evenly represent a base 10 number in bits, you'd need a register in between 3 and 4 bits. So, you either have to go with 3 bits, known as octal, which some early computers did, or 4 bits, which most did, and is the standard today. 4 also divides into multiples of 2 easier than 3 does. So even when your CPU registers grow, which they have a lot in modern CPUs, the numbers can still easily be represented by hexadecimal. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and other topics ranging from theology to science, please press the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ding the bell to get notified when I post new videos. Also, please support me on Patreon to get extra content and special perks. Link in the description. The more people support me, the more time I can dedicate to making videos like this one. So, until next time, have a great week.